Since 1984, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has had 13,000 projects and affected over 8.9 million acres in conservation habitat for the elk and others. All that with Mark Holyoak of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation right now.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome in all you Gun Talk hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and we are back for a great Gun Talk Hunt podcast. Honestly, right now what we're looking at, guys, is it's the heat of the summer. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it any. It's not gonna get any better. So while you're sitting here, while you're heating up and you're dreaming about those fall seasons, man, I thought, it would be a great idea to talk about the ability to hunt and where a lot of that comes from. And the story of how we hunt and why we hunt can't be told without mentioning the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And I've got Mark Holyoak from Rocky Mountain Elk with me today. Mark, welcome in.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be with you.
Man, Mark, with hunting seasons, like they're going to approach very quickly. We talk about, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. What is, for those who don't know, because we get a lot of new hunters in here too, conservation groups like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation are vital to our hunting success and being able to see more critters.
Absolutely. We are a conservation organization, hunter-based. Probably 97, 98% of our members are hunters. Not everyone, but practically everyone. And our mission is to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. And when a lot of people hear about that mission, they think we're all about elk, which we are. Mm-hmm. But it's important to talk about that other wildlife term as well. I mean, what we do when we conserve landscapes, when we open public access, when we enhance habitat, it helps mule deer, it helps whitetails, it helps mountain lions and black bears and antelope and on and on and on. So we're an organization that, yes, we're known as being elk centric. But the work we do benefits and helps so many other species, which makes it so much more fun for all of us who like to get out there on those landscapes and hunt and hike and fish and do the things we do.
Yep, absolutely. And this episode is brought to you by EOTECH, Rossi, Ruger, Timney Triggers, Range Ready Studios, Silencer Central, and Vortex. All those, they believe heavily in conservation, especially Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. So let's kind of jump into some projects that are kind of near and dear to your heart, Mark, and talk about those and what it does, for the herd size and limits.
So I guess maybe we could look backwards just a few months. Late last year, we had just two giant projects, one on each coast. One was in Northeast Oregon along the Minam River corridor. And basically, it was a two-phase project that over a couple of years, we were able to conserve, in other words, protect or permanently protect the wildlife values and the habitat of 15,000 acres. We worked with our partners at Manulife Investment and Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to make it happen. And so before it was private land, now it's open. Practically the whole stretch of the Minam River is now conserved. People can go and they can fish it. They're doing it right now. You can go out on it right now and you can scout for elk and mule deer and other critters. That's happening right now. So it's a benefit for wildlife and it helps us as well. On the other coast, we had a project completely different approach and landscape. This is in the heart of Kentucky's elk range, where it's thick, very thick, completely different kind of vegetation and everything. And it's also a different project in that the Oregon project is now in public hands because it's Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's a wildlife management area. But back in Kentucky, that one is still owned by the Nature Conservancy. So we worked with them and signed an agreement, a conservation and access agreement, 55,000 acres. So it's huge. Even though it remains in the private hands, right now, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife is actually managing it so they can take part in whatever needs to be done as far as habitat work goes, thinning or burns or noxious weed treatments. And yet there's the public access component, so it's open to the public forever.
Wow.
So two very different types of projects that help animals on both coasts and are hugely beneficial for those of us who like to hunt.
Well, it's opening up land that is, I mean, to be honest with you, right now it's land access is hard to come by. And especially like more and more public areas, like we have an influx of hunters coming into this space that we have all cried out for. We asked for this. We asked for more hunters. We wanted to maintain them. We wanted to keep them and let them go out and hunt. I don't think a lot of people really thought that the access issue would have been a problem, but it started to become an issue. And I mean, what was it like? I think 8.9 million acres or something like that since 1984 that Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has had a hand in, increasing the value or the conservation of those properties. Does that sound about right? Am I in the right ballpark?
Yeah. In fact, this is our 40th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1984, so it's been 40 years. But before the 40 years is out, we'll roll over that 9 million acre threshold of acreage that we've either conserved or protected.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to stay the way it is, and open access to about 1.6 million acres of that for people to hunt, hike, and fish and float and pick huckleberries and do whatever things they like to do on those landscapes.
That's a good point, because in my mindset, and I'm sure a lot of guys out there and gals out there listening, they think when I hear Rocky Mountain Elk, I'm like, all right, they're growing those deer herds. They're making the land great for me, the hunter. But it's not that. It's birders, it's hikers, it's fishermen, it's boaters, it's like, it's campers, it's the overlanders, you guys kind of do it for everybody, not just hunters.
Yeah, we do it. I mean, that's the bottom line of it all. Our focus is hunting. We'll admit that. We hunt.
Well, yeah.
It's what we do. But hey, if you can do work that benefits species and hunters and yet so many other segments of society, why not? And we're open to having anyone and everyone support us as we try to carry out our mission and just advance it to the best point that we can.
Yeah. Well, it is amazing how much you guys have done. And I think I read on your website, which, by the way, I don't know who's doing your website work, but rmef.org, go there, check it out, because it's probably one of the best laid out websites I've been on in a long time. It's easy to navigate. Let's talk about the work you're doing with kind of other organizations, because that's one thing that caught my eye, actually. And this is kind of an impromptu. I've got to apologize to Mark for it, but I saw it and I was like, that's interesting. Like, cause they're doing advocacy work for other issues in the wildlife conservation realm. And I think the one that actually caught my eye was one with the cats organization, that the Colorado initiative that they're trying to basically outlaw hunting. Believe it or not, they are coming after our hunting. Like, I mean, big shocker there. But talk a little bit about that and the advocacy and assisting other organizations, because I'm sure like they're all helping you too.
That's one thing we do really in all of our work, our conservation work, our habitat enhancement work. We work with a lot of researchers, a lot of universities. If we're furthering research, so basically everything we do, we don't do it by ourselves. We look to link arms with other folks because there's more power in that. There's more progress in that. And there's more bottom line results in that. And the same goes for advocacy. So if you look at this, if you're not familiar with what's going on right now, there is a potential ballot initiative. They turned in 180-some thousand signatures last week. Environmentalists, animal rights folks, they want to outlaw mountain lion hunting and bobcat hunting in Colorado. So before you go too much in depth on that, you kind of need to realize the history in this state. So it was only 4 years ago that they had another ballot initiative.
Yeah.
And that was to forcibly put wolves on the ground in Colorado. And in Colorado, according to statute, once a ballot initiative goes to the people, state employees can say nothing. So Colorado Parks and Wildlife, your biologists, your game managers, your leadership in every level, they couldn't say anything. So we were pushing out, we found out about this about 3 years before. And so we're pushing out the word, hey, this could come, this could happen. And so we were pushing out the word that there's a possibility this is going to happen. And then once it happened, their lips are sealed. There's nothing they could do. But they had 4 previous times, they had conducted studies and said, this is a bad idea. If they come here naturally, they come here naturally. That's fine. And that's what we agreed to. But to forcibly put them on the landscape is a bad idea. And it happened. The vote passed by less than 2%. It's a bit messy right now. And the bottom line there is you have uneducated folks who go to the polls and they check a box, not really understanding an issue, or they've only heard emotional pleas and some taglines and some propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
And they're avoiding wildlife management, the North American wildlife conservation model, the importance of managing all species for their overall good, predators and prey. So that happened 4 years ago. And so it's not surprising that this has happened this time because the door's been open to Colorado.
Yep.
So now the door is open. It's up to the Secretary of State to determine if they have enough valid signatures to put it on the ballot later this year. If it does, it will go on the ballot. You know, we've put well over 6 figures on the ground in money donations. We're linked up with lots of other like-minded groups, as well as cattlemen groups and just other folks who are concerned in Colorado to try and stop this from happening. So we wait right now and see what the Secretary of State says. If it doesn't pass, we're good for now, but they'll regroup and try again. If it does pass, we will dive in like we did 4 years ago. We'll use resources, outreach, everything we can and say, hey, can we have some common sense here? Let's not turn our back on wildlife management, regulations, and using hunting as part of that. And hunting is key. And this, people may say, oh, this is just a mountain lion hunt. It's not like they're talking elk or deer. Well, that will be next. I mean, the writing's on the wall. We've seen it from 4 years ago. This is another step in that direction. So are we involved? Yes. Do we put resources on the ground? Yes. Do we have our members involved? Yes. Do we want everyone involved? Yes.
And that's what I love about the website and making it easy, because you can go in and it's under key issues and advocacy. It's a drop down menu. You go down, you go to that, and you can go in and you can look at all the state issues that Rocky Mountain Elk is trying to get involved and bring to light. And they allow you to go in, you can go down, you can take action, and it'll take you to a screenshot. I've already done it. And you basically, I mean, it is pretty simple to send your state legislators or those state legislatures a message from that's well typed out. It's well documented that you reached out, and that's one way you can actually take action. And I love that you guys are doing that. That's amazing work, Mark.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a recurve bow hunter, a compound bow hunter, late season rifle guy or girl, doesn't matter. We need to recognize these efforts for what they are, and they threaten, our way of life. And not only that, they threaten funding for conservation. I mean, those of us who hunt understand, and if we don't understand, we should figure it out, but we supply so much funding that makes conservation work happen. Yeah. I mean, when you look at the taxes that are on our ammunition and our rifles, archery equipment, all those recreational shooters as well, they have excise taxes on that. Yeah. That funding goes toward conservation. It's earmarked that way. It's set up federally that way. And they've raised over $17 billion in almost the last century, in the last 90 years, that goes specifically for that. You do away with hunting, you take away your chief management of species, and a huge funding for the wildlife that's out there. And then that would be a terrifically bad impact on our wildlife populations.
It'd be devastating, absolutely devastating. We're going to jump back in here in a second. We're going to take a quick break, hear from a word from our sponsors. But I want to talk about wolves next and how it plays an impact on what Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is doing. Ultimate versatility with the American Gen 2 Predator model. When you're on the hunt, versatility is key. Meet the Ruger American Gen 2 Predator model, the ultimate hunting rifle for all your pursuits. With its specialized barrel for supreme accuracy, adjustable trigger, and rugged construction, the Ruger American Gen 2 Predator model is engineered to excel in any environment. From varmints to big game, this rifle adapts to your needs. Elevate your hunting experience with the Ruger American Gen 2 Predator model. Visit Ruger.com to discover how it can transform your next hunt. What a hit. When it comes to hunting, your trigger is everything. Timney Triggers introduces the Remington 700 Hit Trigger, designed for those serious shooters. The Remington 700 Hit Trigger offers adjustable pull weight, ensuring you get the perfect customized feel you deserve. It's built for precision and reliability so you can trust your every shot. Timney Triggers has many triggers for hunting for a bunch of different rifles out there. Discover the Remington 700 Hit and transform your hunting experience. Visit TimneyTriggers.com to explore all they got. It's time to prepare for the shot of a lifetime. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or new to the sport, preparation is key. I preach it all the time. At Range Ready Studios, we offer the training you need to make that shot of a lifetime. Chris Serino is on staff, and he has a host of instructors on hand to provide personalized trainings in state-of-the-art facilities and practical exercises that build your confidence and skills. From precision marksmanship to quick target acquisition, we've got you covered. Don't leave your success to chance. Visit rangereadystudios.com to learn more. All right, let's talk about spotting scopes real quick. You know, when you're out in the field and you're scanning, clarity is absolutely 100% key. When you're scanning the horizon, clarity is the difference because you've got to distinguish whether you need to make that move or you don't. With Razor HD spotting scopes, enjoy exceptional edge-to-edge clarity, brilliant color fidelity, and rugged construction designed for the toughest environment. And of course, Vortex Optics has that impeccable lifetime guarantee, knowing that you are covered no matter what. And they mean it. See further and clearer with Vortex Razor HD spotting scopes. Visit vortexoptics.com today and learn more. All right, we're back with Mark Holyoak of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And okay, we've kind of got a little bit of the background and some projects that you guys are working on. And we jumped a little bit into the advocacy part, but let's talk a little bit about the wolves' impact on how Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation operates, because man, they're hunters. They're hunters and they're killers. I mean, they will drive an elk herd out and decimate it. So what's Rocky Mountain's elk kind of stance on that, and what do you guys do along those lines?
You know, we have, just like we're in favor of management for prey species. I mean, we're in favor of management of elk. Yeah. There are places where elk are well over objective, and that's not a good thing. That's right. Not a good thing for the available habitat that's out there. And so some people will label us as, you know, you're anti-wolf. Well, we're not anti-elk, but we very much agree with managing elk and getting them up where they need to be and getting them down to where they need to be, depending on where those locations are.
Right.
Same thing goes for wolves and other predators. We're pro management of wolves and mountain lions and black bears as well. Those of us who live in our neck of the woods, I mean, I live west of Missoula, about 15 miles.
Okay.
I was out picking huckleberries last year up in the mountains in a favorite spot. Got home the next day and saw word from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks that a grizzly was spotted right there. The grizzlies are pushing down. They're getting really close to us. That's an not exploding, but it's definitely a growing population. And there's need of management there as well. So are we in favor of managing all species? Yes. Does that include predators? Yes. Do they have an impact on elk and other wildlife? Yes.
All right. I hear so many stories of, hunters going out to their favorite spots and they won't hear a bugle at all. They won't see an elk. They won't see a track, and they know wolves have been through that area, and they keep pushing them. And it's unfortunate that some states, naturally, absolutely, like there's got to be a balance, but come on. And I was wondering, is that a wolf that you took out in Montana? The hide? Yeah.
No, that was actually sent in from a member who took it legally, and it ended up in my office because I think it's cool looking.
It is cool. It's absolutely cool. There's nothing like a good wolf hide. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Talk a little bit more about future projects and where Rocky Mountain Elk is really focused on and key areas. I know you guys are out west. You guys do a lot of work out west, but I mean, you've done work in both my states. You've done work in Oklahoma. You've done work in Louisiana. In fact, I don't know if there's a state that you guys haven't touched.
I should point out that you and I have a lot in common because I work at the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and you're from Elk City, Oklahoma. So
Yep.
Right there, we have that going. But yeah, wherever elk are, and I think there are 28 states where there are wild free-ranging elk. Wherever elk are, we're involved. Having said that, though, we have just under 500 chapters nationwide, and a lot of those chapters are in states that don't have elk populations.
Yep.
Iowa, Ohio,
Yeah.
whatever, Florida. You go on and on, but the members that we have in those states recognize the importance of elk. A lot of them go to other states to hunt them,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, a lot of that funding that they raise is put on the ground in their home states to promote, youth outdoor camps and conservation
Right.
education, national archery in the schools program, 4-H shooting, all those things on and on and on. So it's a larger approach to, yes, we're elk centric, but there's so much more that we can do. And we have members that support that all around the country, and especially in states where elk are. And that ranges from the Southeast to Pennsylvania to Arizona to Washington and up into Alaska.
Yeah, it's literally everywhere. So do you have any kind of cool stories about volunteers that have any good personal stories or anything like that? I know I didn't ask you that, but I'm thinking with all the volunteers, you've got to have some great stories of just the passion that runs through RMEF.
Well, that's the thing is we have thousands and thousands of volunteers, and yes, their main focus is really fundraising banquets,
Right.
But we also do all sorts of boots on the ground projects. We had one a couple of weeks ago that is west of here, about an hour. It's up in the mountains. It's right on the Montana-Idaho border, and it's a place called Hiawatha Trail. Now, that's a really well-known regionally, and for some nationally, a rails to trail trail.
Okay.
They have bikes that go on it. So it's a 15-mile loop that used to run on the old Milwaukee rail line up there. So back in the day, they had the old Milwaukee rail line, and then they wanted to electrify it. So they brought in posts, and each of those posts that lined the trail, which are actually, it's super steep. I don't know how they did it, but super thick and super steep. They put up all these posts, and they had 8 electric wires on all of them that ran the length of that trail. Well, electric railways went out years ago, and that trail's since been converted. The tracks are removed, and now it's a popular bike trail. It's beautiful, but the wires are still up there. So it was about 5 or 6 years ago that there was a couple of RMEF hunters who were up there hunting. I don't know why, because it's thicker than anything, and it's ridiculously steep. And I'm out there working going, this is crazy. But they were up there, and they came across a mature dead elk that had these wires totally wrapped up in its antlers. And that's how it died. It got up there, probably during the rut, thrashing around, got stuck, got wound up, and that's how it died. It was stuck. It couldn't move. And so we've gone up there for 4 years in a row. I took my grandson up there a couple of years ago, and we went and helped. And as we were up there 2 years ago, we came across another one. This time it was an elk that wasn't fully mature. I think it was more of a raghorn, but it not only did it have wires around its antlers, but it had wires around a small tree, and that's where it died. And that's how it died. And its bones were scattered. So you could see that the predators had come across it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, hey, there's an easy deal. So we've had volunteers go up there, every year for the last 4 years, including a week and a half ago, with their wire cutters and their bolt cutters, and on those steep inclines and tearing that wire out of there. And it was hot work when I was there 2 years ago. It was a really hot day. But boy, to get thrashed up and to know that you're making a difference and to pull coils and coils of wire off the landscape, it's just good. It was a great feeling. We had people that came from Arkansas and Georgia and, Idaho and Montana. They came from all over for it. And that's just one of hundreds of projects that we're involved with every year.
That's incredible. That's a cool story on, seeing a problem, fixing a problem. Because it seems like so much, when someone signs up for an organization, they think, oh, I'm just going to send my money in. And man, it's like, this is an active organization. They're not an organization that just rests on its laurels.
Yeah. We like to follow through in all that we do. And so at the same time, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
The woman I met from Iowa, she's not a hunter. She said, I heard about this. I signed up. I planned a vacation around it. And she's been back every year since then. Someone who just says she wants to give back. And so there's a lot of that same type of mentality in our organization, whether you hunt or don't.
See, we can all get along like this. Like Rocky Mountain Elk is like joining everybody together. That's what it is.
Hey, let me throw out one other just down the road project.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't talk about future projects because there's so much. There's legal land work involved and hoops and red tape and all that. But there's one that we'll close out. We're looking to shoot for later this fall. It's down in South Central Idaho. And, we mentioned the challenges earlier about public access.
Right.
So this is a part of the country, and we have a lot of public land out here west, which is awesome. It's so great.
Right.
But there are huge swaths of public land that you can't get to because they're landlocked, because there's public ownership all the way around. So we found out about just a 40-acre piece of land. That's it, small, that went on the market, and we swooped in and purchased it. And we're working with the Bureau of Land Management to convey it to them. When we're done here, people will be able to drive directly up to this land, park their rigs, either walk in or bring their horses, and go to the back of that land. And there will be 13,000 acres of public land that was previously off limits and landlocked that'll be open for business for those of us who like to hunt. So we have a number of projects that are like that. This is a future one that we say is going to happen. We're really excited about that. And it's a benefit because hunters can get in. That acreage can be managed by Idaho Fish and Game.
Yeah.
And at the same time, those of us who like elk hunting can try to get an elk out of there.
Well, yeah. Well, and to open up that much, and it's just a small sliver of land, a 40-acre little plot can open up that much. And it's nice to see that Rocky Mountain Elk is really looking at opportunities where they can open it up for more people. Like that's not, I'm telling you right now, like if I had it, like I was like, man, that'd be like, I just bought 13,440 acres.
Yeah. We were talking to a local landowner there, and he said he used to grow up hunting there, and the previous owner, the owner before the current one, did have an access agreement to let everybody go in if they'd like to. Well,
yeah,
lands, transactions happen, things over time, there's changes.
Oh, yeah.
And a new owner came in and that agreement went away. But then when this piece of property came available, then we're able to open it up. And so, like I said, we've done similar projects with that, similar to that in Utah and in Montana and other places where it's not a matter of just conserving the land that's out there, but opening access to it, because that gives people the opportunity to walk out and go,
right.
They can actually feel it, what it's like, as opposed to just, reading it on a website or in a magazine or something, but to actually experience it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mark, tell them where they can go find out more about Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and what advice would you give someone who is not a member, who is kind of on the fringe of like, well, what would be your selling point to them, to get them to go to rmef.org, to explore their website, and to commit to supporting this organization?
I guess I would say that if you want to have an opportunity to make a difference, even if you think it's a small difference, every effort counts. And, we have different membership levels. Our, least expensive is $35 a year, which really isn't very much.
No.
But then when you can say, hey, my dollars go toward an organization that helps, in this particular circumstance, purchase 40 acres that opens it up to 13,000, or 55,000 acres back in Kentucky from last year that remains private, but it's open for public access, or 15,000 acres in Oregon, last year that's now in the public hands. And those are lands that can be overseen by wildlife managers, which will improve the habitat, which will improve wildlife populations and hunter opportunity at the same time. And not only that, if you look at both of those projects, Kentucky, Oregon, there's waterways involved. So that benefits anglers and fishing and people who like to get on the landscape for other reasons as well. So are we a hunter-based organization? Yes, we are. But to support RMEF supports more than elk, supports lots of different wildlife species, and gives you a sense of belonging to a cause doing some greater good. And if you want to take it a step further and be a volunteer and help out at fundraising banquets, do so. And if you want to get out there and be involved in forest thinning projects or pulling wire off the mountainside at Hiawatha Trail, there's those opportunities as well. So it just kind of depends on how much you'd like to be involved. And we just appreciate everyone's support, sportsmen and women, and our different organizations we work with, state agencies, federal agencies, and just regular folks as well.
And I will tell you this, if you do sign up for a membership, you get the joy of once a month, you get a Bugle magazine. And I'm going to tell you what, they've got amazing recipes in there every month, which I do appreciate when cooking wild game. And there's a lot of great stories in those magazines. So the Bugle magazine is absolutely one of my favorite to get in the mail.
It is the number one member benefit, is you do get 6 issues a year, and it's not a skinny magazine. It's I don't know how many pages are in this one, 163. So there's a lot of great tales in there, and we also have just so many good folks who submit hunting stories, hunting elk, chasing elk, and all things hunting related. But I don't know. It's a feel to me that the RMEF is a feeling that you get. Yeah, it's an organization, but it's part of a feel and part of a conservation movement. We've grown over the years. We appreciate every step along the way, and we look to take more steps in the future.
Yep, absolutely. Mark, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, thank you.
All right, you Gun Talk hunters, you know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.